A peaceful evening took an unexpected turn when Keanu Reeves stepped into an elegant, upscale restaurant. The kind of place known for its soft music, dim lighting, and a clientele that valued exquisite dining over noise and chaos. Keanu, dressed in a simple black jacket, jeans, and an unmistakable air of humility, slipped in almost unnoticed. Despite his global fame, he had a rare ability to blend in effortlessly. Tonight wasn't about flashing cameras or starstruck fans. It was about savoring a quiet evening. Keanu found a cozy corner table, ordered a coffee, and opened a book. The gentle murmur of conversation paired with the soothing ambience allowed him to relax. These rare moments, away from the relentless public gaze, were precious to him. But peace, as fleeting as it often is, was soon disrupted. Nearby, a young boy in a wheelchair was wrestling with the menu. His bright, curious eyes scanned the unfamiliar options, while his contagious smile hinted at an inner joy. Beside him sat his mother, her gentle encouragement showcasing a bond forged through shared struggles and triumphs. Keanu couldn't help but notice their closeness, a story of resilience written in their every glance. The boy shyly raised his hand, signaling for the waiter. A man in a stiff white shirt and black tie approached, but his rigid posture and cold demeanor were immediately noticeable. Without even looking at the boy, the waiter asked curtly, "What'll it be?" The boy's voice, soft yet brave, replied, "Can I have a cheeseburger with fries, please?" The waiter frowned, tapping his pen impatiently against his notepad. "Cheeseburger? This isn't a fast food place, kid. We serve filet mignon, seared tuna, and fine pasta. Maybe try something more appropriate." The mother's face turned red with embarrassment, and she opened her mouth to intervene. But before she could, her son piped up again, his determination evident despite the slight quiver in his voice. "I like cheeseburgers," he said. The waiter smirked dismissively. "Maybe you should have gone somewhere else then. This place is for people who appreciate real food, not junk." A tense silence descended over the room. Diners glanced over briefly but quickly averted their eyes, discomfort clear on their faces. The boy's gaze dropped to the tablecloth, his fingers clutching the edge of his wheelchair. His mother reached out to hold his hand, her own trembling. From his corner, Keanu quietly closed his book, placing it down with deliberate care. His calm demeanor masked a growing anger as he focused on the scene before him. He had witnessed many things in life, kindness, hardship, and cruelty, but this moment struck a deep chord. The boy tried again, his voice barely audible, The waiter cut him off sharply, raising his voice for all to hear. "I'm not wasting the chef's time with your childish orders." Before anyone could respond, the boy's mother stood abruptly. Though her voice trembled with emotion, her words were steady. "You have no right to speak to my son that way. He's a paying customer, just like anyone else here." The waiter scoffed, crossing his arms. "Look, lady, I'm just saying what everyone else is thinking. This isn't the place for..." "Enough." The single word sliced through the tension like a thunderclap. Every head in the room turned toward Keanu, who had risen from his seat. His voice was calm, but the firmness in it was impossible to ignore. "Apologize to them. Now." The waiter froze, recognition dawning as he stammered, "I didn't mean to offend, Mr. Reeves. It's just that." "Stop," Keanu said, stepping closer, his calm tone carrying the weight of authority. "This isn't about me. It's about how you're treating them. You don't talk to people like that, especially not a child." The room remained silent, all eyes on the unfolding scene. The boy's mother looked at Keanu with a mix of gratitude and astonishment, while the boy stared at him, wide-eyed and hopeful. The waiter mumbled a half-hearted apology, but Keanu's unyielding gaze made him repeat it, this time with genuine remorse. Only then did the waiter retreat to the kitchen to fulfill the boy's order. Keanu crouched beside the boy's wheelchair, meeting his eyes with a warm smile. "Hey," he said gently, "don't ever let anyone make you feel like you don't belong, okay?" The boy nodded, his small smile returning. "Okay. What's your name?" Keanu asked softly. "Charlie," the boy replied. "Well, Charlie," Keanu said, his smile widening, I think cheeseburgers are an excellent choice. Mind if I join you for dinners? The boy's face lit up. Really? Really? As Keanu pulled up a chair at their table, the atmosphere in the restaurant shifted. Whispers buzzed around the room, but this time, they carried admiration rather than discomfort. Charlie's mother, Sarah, introduced herself, her voice filled with gratitude. For the rest of the evening, Keanu made Charlie feel like the center of the universe. They talked about superheroes, space travel, and everything in between, while Sarah watched with a heart full of appreciation. What had begun as a quiet evening turned into a moment of connection, kindness, and inspiration that no one in the restaurant would forget. The restaurant staff, shaken by the earlier incident, scrambled to make things right. For the rest of the evening, they ensured the family received flawless service. The manager himself came over, visibly apologetic, and offered a heartfelt apology to Sarah and Charlie, clearly trying to mend the damage caused by the waiter's behavior. By the end of the meal, Charlie was glowing with happiness. His confidence seemed fully restored, a bright smile lighting up his face. Keanu, always discreet, quietly settled the bill for the family. Before the moment could escalate into a media frenzy, he slipped out of the restaurant as quietly as he had entered. The ripple effect. The next morning, Keanu's peaceful routine was interrupted by his phone buzzing incessantly. Notifications poured in one after another. Unbeknownst to him, someone had recorded part of the incident at the restaurant and posted it online. The clip, capturing the moment Keanu stood up for Charlie, had gone viral overnight. It amassed millions of views in a matter of hours and sparked an overwhelming outpouring of support from across the globe. Messages flooded Keanu's social media accounts. Fans and strangers alike thanked him for his kindness and praised him for using his platform to defend those who often go unnoticed. But for Keanu, it wasn't about the recognition or the applause. The incident at the restaurant had stirred something deeply personal in him. Charlie's quiet determination and vulnerability reminded Keanu of his own past, the struggles he had witnessed and endured growing up. He understood what it felt like to be judged, to face challenges, and to feel like an outsider. Keanu knew he couldn't stop at just one act of kindness. He felt compelled to do more. A family changed. Meanwhile, back at home, Charlie was still buzzing with excitement. Wheeling himself energetically around their small living room, he couldn't stop talking about the movie star who had stood up for him and even shared a meal with him. "Mom," he said, his voice brimming with wonder, "I belong everywhere, right? Do you think he really meant it?" Sarah knelt down beside him, cupping his cheek with a tender smile. "Of course he meant it," she assured him. "You saw how much he cared, didn't you?" Charlie nodded slowly, but a flicker of doubt lingered in his eyes. "But people still stare at me. They think I'm different," he said softly. Sarah's heart ached for her son. She wished she could shield him from the world's harshness, but she also knew she had to help him find strength within himself. "Charlie," she said, her voice gentle but firm, "you know what Keanu would say? He'd tell you that being different is what makes you special. Don't ever let anyone dim your light." Unbeknownst to Sarah and Charlie, their lives were about to change in ways they couldn't imagine. A plan takes shape. By midday, Keanu was on the phone with his team. The video had opened his eyes to a larger issue, and he couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to take action. After brainstorming with his closest advisors, an idea began to take form. Keanu decided to start a foundation dedicated to promoting kindness and inclusivity, particularly for children with disabilities. He named it Charlie's Lights in honor of the boy who had inspired him to act. The foundation's mission was clear: to create safe, welcoming spaces where all children, regardless of their differences, could feel accepted and valued. Not stopping there, Keanu reached out to Sarah privately, asking if they could meet again. He wanted Charlie's voice to be central to this initiative. Sarah, overwhelmed by the offer, agreed. Within days, they found themselves sitting in a quiet cafe, far from the public eye. The heart of the mission. Keanu leaned forward, his gaze sincere as he addressed Charlie. "If you could change one thing about the world, Charlie, what would it be?" Charlie hesitated, his small hands nervously fidgeting with the armrest of his wheelchair. Finally, he looked up and said, "I'd make people stop judging others so quickly. Sometimes they don't even give you a chance." Keanu nodded thoughtfully, a soft smile playing on his lips. "That's a great start," he said. "How about we work on that together? Would you like to help me?" Charlie's eyes widened in disbelief. "Help you? How?" "Well," Keanu replied, his tone encouraging, "you've got ideas, right? I want to hear them."
You can be my partner in this.
"What do you say?" Charlie looked at his mom, who nodded supportively. Then, with a grin spreading across his face, he said, "Okay, let's do it." Building Charlie's Light. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Keanu threw himself into the creation of the foundation, ensuring that Charlie and Sarah were involved every step of the way. Charlie's ideas were given genuine consideration, from designing accessible playgrounds to crafting awareness campaigns aimed at breaking down prejudice. The journey wasn't without its challenges. As news of the foundation spread, skeptics began to emerge. Some questioned Keanu's motives, accusing him of using the incident for publicity. Others doubted whether such a campaign could truly make a difference. But Keanu remained undeterred. With Charlie by his side, he pressed forward, determined to prove the doubters wrong. Their shared mission wasn't just about changing policies or building facilities, it was about changing hearts and minds. In the process, Keanu and Charlie's bond deepened, transforming a chance encounter into a partnership that would inspire millions. Together, they were determined to shine a light on kindness, one small act at a time. Keanu refused to be disheartened by criticism. "This isn't about me," he said in one of his rare interviews, his voice steady yet impassioned. "It's about Charlie and every child out there who feels invisible or out of place. If we can change even one life, if we can make even one child feel like they belong, then it's worth every effort." The interview struck a chord and quickly went viral, amplifying the cause's reach. Donations began pouring in from all over the world. Fans, celebrities, and everyday people contributed what they could, eager to be part of a mission that resonated deeply with them. The momentum wasn't just financial, it was emotional. People wanted to believe in a world where kindness could make a real difference. The first major project. One of the foundation's earliest achievements was the establishment of an inclusive community center in a busy metropolitan area. Designed to bring children of all abilities together, the center was a testament to what could happen when compassion and vision aligned. The facility boasted wheelchair-accessible playgrounds, sensory-friendly rooms, and programs designed to teach empathy and acceptance from a young age. The grand opening was a spectacle of hope and unity. Charlie and Sarah were given the honor of cutting the ribbon. As Charlie rolled onto the stage, flanked by Keanu and other foundation leaders, the crowd erupted into thunderous applause. Taking a deep breath, Charlie leaned into the microphone. His voice trembled slightly at first, but it grew stronger with each word. "This place isn't just for kids like me," he declared, his eyes scanning the crowd. "It's for everyone, because we all belong." The audience rose to their feet in a standing ovation, their cheers echoing throughout the space. Sarah stood nearby, tears streaming down her face as she watched her son glow with confidence and pride. Keanu rested a hand on Charlie's shoulder, his face beaming with joy. Later that evening, as the crowd dispersed and the celebration began to wind down, Charlie turned to Keanu, his eyes wide with curiosity and hope. "Do you think we did it? Do you think we made a difference?" Keanu crouched beside him, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We've started something, Charlie," he said with a warm smile. "And sometimes, that's all it takes to begin changing the world." Facing challenges. The buzz surrounding Charlie's Light had turned it from an initiative into a full-blown movement. Schools, community centers, and even large corporations began adopting programs inspired by the foundation's work. Social media brimmed with stories of children who felt more seen, valued, and included, all thanks to the ripple effect sparked by Charlie's story. But no great movement comes without resistance. Keanu, Sarah, and Charlie soon learned that creating meaningful change wasn't just about grand gestures. It required resilience in the face of adversity, persistence in addressing doubts, and courage to push forward, when the road became rocky. One challenge emerged on what seemed like an ordinary Thursday afternoon. Keanu was in a meeting with the foundation's board members when his assistant entered, her expression tight with concern. "Mr. Reeves," she began, "there's something you need to see." She handed him a tablet, her voice heavy with urgency. On the screen was a video of a protest unfolding outside one of the newly built community centers. A small but vocal group held signs with messages like, "Stop the agenda" and "Our tax dollars, our choice." A man's voice, amplified by a megaphone, rang out over the footage. "We're not against helping kids," he shouted. "But why should our hard-earned money go to programs that cater to such a small minority? What about the rest of us?" Keanu's jaw tightened as he watched. It wasn't just the words that hurt, it was the resistance to something meant to unite, not divide. He set the tablet down with deliberate calm, looking up at the board members who were now equally tense. "We can't let this deter us," he said firmly. "But we also can't respond with anger or hostility. We'll confront this with facts, compassion, and stories. They need to see why this matters, not just for kids like Charlie, but for everyone. A battle worth fighting." Meanwhile, Charlie was back home with Sarah, oblivious to the growing controversy. In their cozy living room, he worked on sketches for a new playground design. Sarah watched him with pride, but also with a trace of concern. She knew that while the world had celebrated Charlie's story, not everyone was ready to embrace the changes it inspired. Keanu, on the other hand, had already begun planning the foundation's next steps. He contacted local leaders, held press conferences, and arranged for families impacted by Charlie's Light to share their stories publicly. One particularly moving story came from a single father named Marcus, whose daughter, Bella, had severe sensory processing challenges. "Before Charlie's Light," Marcus said at a town hall, his voice breaking, "Bella couldn't go to parks or join other kids. She felt like the world wasn't made for her.
But now?
Now she has a place where she belongs. And every child deserves that." As more stories like Marcus's emerged, public opinion began to shift. The protests, once fueled by misunderstanding and fear, started to lose steam in the face of undeniable humanity. Keanu remained steadfast, knowing that progress wasn't a straight line. "Change is hard," he told his team one day. "But if we let every challenge stop us, we'll never get to where we're going." And where they were going, that was somewhere brighter, kinder, and more inclusive, one step, one story, and one act of compassion at a time.